Chapter 7, page 135. Jimmy and I didn't do much together that year at Woodside High. We were friends. I felt it every time I saw him, but we had different places in school. I was just one of the kids. Jimmy was a big man on campus. Todd, too. The freshmen and sophomores looked up to the two of them like they were gods. And why not? Everyone had seen the Bruce Brothers article in the newspaper. Everyone had at least heard about the home runs and the great catches. They were both going to be major league stars, famous millionaires. Nobody blamed them for much for blowing the chance for the playoffs. Drinking was part of the package, like Jose Canseco with his fast cars. That year, Woodside's football and basketball teams were both lousy, but baseball was going to be different. The whole community was revved up. The Tribune ran another feature on Todd and Jimmy. Bound for Glory was the headline this time. The writer blabbed on and on about how great both of them were, but the sentences jumped out at me. Watching Jimmy Winter now must be what it was like to have watched Honus Wagner when he was 16. The boy was born to play baseball, and he'll be playing it for a long, long time. Jimmy must have loved reading that. A couple of weeks before tryouts, I got my license. You promise me you'll never drink and drive, my mother said the day I took my driving test. I promise, I said. It won't happen. You give me your word. I give you my word. All winter I had been banging the ball off the back of the house whenever I had a chance, but I hadn't swung the bat at all. It took too long to get down to Tom Wells on the bus, but once I could drive, I could get down there for a half an hour right after dinner. The first couple of times I kept the machine at 70. I was hitting the ball pretty solid, so I moved it to 75. Still no problem. I start getting excited then, thinking that maybe my bat had gotten quicker. A couple of days before tryouts, I pushed the machine up to 80. I had to find out. I had a good cut at the first ball, and I got a piece of it. I took a deep breath and waited for the next pitch. I saw it perfectly uncoiled and missed. A lump rose in my throat. No big deal, I told myself. That's why you get 3. Then came another swing, another miss, then a foul tick, then 2 more swings, then 2 more misses before another tick, tiny tick. I ended up spending an hour to find out all over again that I couldn't hit a fastball in the 80s. Instead of going right home, I drove to Mountain Home Road and cranked the radio up full blast. The red rays of the setting sun were sneaking through the green leaves of the trees. It was strange and beautiful at the same time. Right then, flying down that road with the radio blasting, I stopped kidding myself. All that stuff you hear about being able to do whatever you want to do if you're willing to work at it, it's garbage. I knew it in my bones. I thought about the great players, Mays, Mantle, Ruth, Koufax, Ryan. They didn't earn their talent. You can't earn talent. It was just given to them, just like it was given to Todd and Jimmy. But it wasn't given to me, not enough of it anyway. I was depressed. But then my depression gave way to a strange exhilaration. I thought about how my father had described himself, the best lousy golfer in the world, and suddenly I knew what he'd meant. Compared to Jimmy and Todd, I was lousy. I'd always be lousy. High school baseball was as far as I was ever going to go, but I was determined to be the best lousy baseball player I could possibly be. Chapter 8, page 137. That spring during tryouts, I laid my body on the line to keep every ground ball I could in the infield. I backed up every throw, gave it my all on every foul ball down the line, every bloop into shallow right or center. At the plate, I kept my swing short and sweet, ground balls and line drives, just like Mr. Winter had told me way back in 6th grade. The second Monday, Charant called us all together. If you hear your name, follow me to the conference room of the gym. I went a little lightheaded as he rattled off names. It seemed like the list went on forever. Finally, Charant marched off, the guys whose names he'd called trudging behind. I looked around. Jimmy was there, so were Todd, Corey Russell, and Fred Pacheco, and Dan Duncan, and I was there too. Jimmy put his arm around my shoulder. Hey, teammate. I don't remember practice. I don't remember the 2-mile run or walking home. All I remember is an incredible floating feeling and a sense that somehow my body wasn't big enough to hold the joy surging inside me. I had made the varsity. That's the end of part 3.